Thank you.
Senator Warnock.
Thank you very much, Chairman Scott, and welcome again, Chairman Powell. I want to echo the words of Ranking Member Warren and so many of my colleagues today on DOGE and Project 2025's illegal attack on the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. Certainly the Bureau was not created to be dismantled. And since its inception, the CFPB has been the only federal agency solely dedicated to protecting Americans' wallets and pocketbooks from scammers and predatory companies in financial services. The CFPB reduced costs for Americans, returning more than $21 billion to Americans who have been cheated since its inception. I want us to focus on that as folks are talking about chasing after waste and fraud and abuse. The CFPB has returned more than $21 billion to Americans. Make no mistake, this attack on the CFPB will increase costs for Americans, and it will give the green light to fraudsters and predatory actors seeking to cheat hardworking Americans. And so, Chairman Powell, thousands of Georgians of all political stripes have written into my office, and they are alarmed by an unelected billionaire and his hacksters' dangerous attempts to access Americans' private data and the Treasury Department's systems that control $6 trillion in annual payments to millions of American citizens, including Social Security, Medicare, and tax refunds. Quickly, yes or no, has Elon Musk or members of his team, to your knowledge, attempted to access the Fed's protected data and systems? Yes or no?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
Okay, so will you commit to report to this committee, majority and minority, immediately should you become aware of any such attempt by Elon Musk or DOGE to pierce the Fed's independence or to access its protected systems?
Yes.
Thank you for that commitment. The Fed's latest monetary policy report states that the tight labor market has allowed employment and earnings gaps between Black and Hispanic Americans and white Americans to narrow. I was glad to see that many of the long-standing disparities in employment and wages by sex, race, ethnicity, and education have narrowed under the Biden administration. Some gaps have reached historic lows. Specifically, the employment gap for Black workers and white workers is near its lowest point in almost 50 years. That is the economy that the Trump administration is inheriting, a historic low in almost 50 years. Chair Powell, as you work to promote maximum employment, what steps will the Fed take to ensure that these equity gains are permanent?
So the best thing we can do is it's both of our mandates, really, because as you well know, high inflation hits people at the low end of the income spectrum first and most. And in addition to that, we know that the benefits of a strong labor market over time can be really visible and important in those communities as well. So we pursue our mandate. We keep our heads down, and it works out that is the single best thing we can do to foster, closing those gaps.
You pursue your mandate, you want to make sure that it's working. Would you agree that we still need good equity data to continue to narrow and close those gaps by race and gender?
I do think, we're always going to be in favor of good data at the Fed, and we do have quite a bit of that data on our website.
But if we don't have equity data, it'd be difficult to know, right?
Yes.
I'm glad to hear you still believe in the value of good equity data for economic policy making. It's better to fly with the data than to fly blind. I'm not sure what's so controversial about the data. And while I was disappointed to hear that the Federal Reserve, which is independent from the White House, it scrubbed a diversity and inclusion section from its website after President Trump's executive order, while also scrubbing data on the racial, ethnic, and gender makeup of its economists and researchers, I hope you will continue to ensure that the public has good data on how our economy is working or not working for historically marginalized Americans. I also hope you will reconsider your decisions around the whitewashing of the Fed's website. Chair Powell, as we think about the value of protecting data on the black-white wealth gap or employment gap, I think it's important to understand what policymakers can learn from this data. Historically, from what you've seen in the data, historically, what types of economic events have caused the black-white wealth gap or employment gap to widen?
Well, high inflation, downturns, you see generally, just take the black unemployment rate, it generally moves at twice the speed of the white unemployment rate. So when it goes up faster, and when it comes down faster. But there is, at the end of the day, there's always been a gap, and we want to run a strong labor market, and we target overall overall labor market conditions for maximum employment. But one of the benefits of that is that gap comes down.
Thank you so much. We all know that fully deregulating our financial regulators like the CFPB, firing bank examiners at the FDIC, or weakening the Fed's supervisory capacity makes an economic shock or recession more likely. We know that this disproportionately impacts Black and Hispanic workers, and there are real consequences to weakening and eliminating financial regulations that keep us safe. Working people are the ones especially who suffer. So thank you so much, and I look forward to continuing to work with you to close these gaps.